everybody. Welcome. Hi, everybody. We are so excited today. We have our fourth Lafora talk show, and we
Good
have
morning.
Paul
Morning, Christian.
from from the Lafora admin team. Thank you to the Lafora admin team for giving us this opportunity. We have Jasper and we have Joe, who are our guests joining us today. We are so excited and we cannot wait to get started and hear about their stories and their journey of coming to the US so that everybody can hear and learn from each other. This is a community. This is about helping each other and sharing information. So we want to have a conversation, and this is going to be a lot of fun and hopefully very informative. Before we get started, just a few ground rules. The first thing is that we ask everybody who's watching to please be respectful of the guests that are coming on the show and not to direct message the guests. Please be respectful. Lafora is all about respect, and we don't want the guests to be bombarded with questions. If you have questions, please put those into the chat, and we'd love to hear your questions. The other thing is that this, at this time of the coronavirus, it is a very trying time for many people. It is very stressful. Everybody has a lot of anxiety. So this is our way of paying it forward to you and making a difference and hopefully shedding some light and some positivity and some encouragement. And we ask you to tag your friends and to tag your colleagues so that you in turn can pay it forward to them and share the Lafora talk show with them. So that's some ground rules. The other thing is that when we have the guests on, we ask the guests not to mention exactly where they are working, which hospitals, no agencies. We want to keep this as neutral as possible. So we do ask the guests for that. And the last thing to mention, which I think everybody knows, but I just want to say it, is we ask everybody to be authentic. This is obviously we want to encourage you, we want to inspire you, but we also want to be real. We want to be real. This is our community. This is a place for everybody to be real, to hear what it's really like when you come to the US. But if are there challenges, we ask the guests, how did they overcome it? Because we don't want this to be a pity party. We want this to be a problem-solving opportunity. Okay, so with that said, let's get started. And before we do, Paul, where's our mascot, Eva?
Oh, she's running around probably eating. Eva, come here. I'm going to call her.
This is the fourth Lafora talk show, and we have a mascot. Eva's going to be joining us too. So, Joe and Jasper, if we want to start off and tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us about why you became a nurse, what inspired you about coming to America. You want to share a little bit about yourself? Maybe Joe, ladies first.
Oh. Okay, really, when I was in college, I really want to go for, I want to be a radio, a DJ host like that. But then, like the university that I'm applying to, I don't like that school, so I have to go to another school that my dad wants me to, and I don't want math. So they just have nursing, engineering, accounting. So I'll say, I'll try nursing. Like there's lesser math. So that's my start, and I started to love nursing, and that's it.
Okay, so maybe Joe's going to take over from me as the host of the Lafora talk show.
Oh.
You always wanted to be on the DJ, right?
It was like a long time ago.
What about you, Jasper?
Well, I would like to say thank you for inviting me over. Tanya, Paul, Jean, last time I saw in the video, and also Joe, good morning. This is the first time some of you I've met, aside from Tanya. So thanks so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. To your question, I think mine was a different story because I really didn't want to be a nurse initially, and then well, my mom just kind of said, we didn't have any money for you to go anywhere else, like pursue your initial passion, which was journalism. So I took up nursing just because my sibling was in nursing school at the time said, you can use his equipment, his uniform, shoes, books, what have you. So I basically said, okay, just appease my mom, and that's how I started nursing.
So mom is always right.
I
Right,
guess so.
Jasper? And who or what inspired you to come to the US, Joe?
Well, I think it's a different story to say during my time, because if you notice nowadays, the availability of nursing positions in the United States is a lot, and the visa availability is also on what 1 year now retrogress. During my time when I graduated in '96, it was like 10 years retrogress. So all my classmates, when we graduated, we were like at a loss because there were no positions open. We didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia at that time because of the war, and so we were just pretty much stuck in the Philippines. So when I graduated, I didn't have any job. I remember myself walking in Manila, and with my resume, couldn't find any job. So I decided I want to go to do something with my life, I guess. So I went back to school, pursued my certificate in education from UP Diliman, and then became a teacher, and also took my licensure exam for teachers and passed that. So basically, I taught at the Department of Education as a secondary school teacher in a public school. So I taught biology, chemistry, and I remember having 80 students in my class, and I was like, I had to speak on top of my voice because there's just a lot of students. And I did that for about 3 years, and then the opportunity came when the visa availability started to come in, and I was able to go back to the mainstream nursing.
Okay, so it took a long time.
It did.
Yeah.
So I would like to say to the audience right now, don't despair. Don't, because sometimes I follow some of the chats that people are complaining. The priority dates are just too slow. But if you put yourself 10 years ago or during our time, we were retrogressed 10 years back. So 2 years is nothing.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jasper, because it's all about perspective. One has to have patience, and it's all about perspective. I remember the retrogression years very well. Very painful time.
And there's a lot of things they can do in the meantime. They just don't sit there doing nothing. They could, do a lot of things to improve their skills. And then when the opportunity comes, they can, go back.
Yeah. And I think, Paul, you had a similar situation, right? You kind of like did a little zigzag.
Right. Yeah. 10 years retrogression was a thing also with me. Yes.
Yeah.
Had to wait that long.
It did.
Yeah. So I was like, I waited for 8 and 9 years just to come here, but I did not stop dreaming of coming here. I just continued, developing my skills. I continue working on the nursing arena, and then here I am.
Yeah.
Living my dream.
Here you are on the Lafora Talk Show. Sharing
I guess
your
all of us here have waited for so long that we really cherished where we are at right now, and we're working so hard to keep maintain what we have right now just because we waited so long to get here. So that's my advice to the Laforans too. So if it's making them feel upset for waiting so long, just believe that one day it will be there and it will be all worth it.
Yeah. I think, sometimes it's having that vision and holding on to that vision. But the question is, if you think back on that time, what do you tap into in yourself to keep yourself going? What do you say to yourself to keep yourself going? Because, it's all very well, you can look back now and think about it and say, okay, well, no experience is lost. I'm a big fan of Oprah, and Oprah always says no experience is lost, even if you didn't go the path that you wanted to. But what did you say to yourself in your head if you think back to that time?
Well, for me, I always stay like positive. I always like just move forward. Like I'm gonna reach that goal soon, but I just move forward and I don't stress out of waiting. I just live my life as it is. Like just as I told earlier, just develop your skills. Don't be so stressed about it. Your time will come. I mean, you'll get there. Just and when you get here, it's all worth it.
Okay, so those are wise words, Joe. Tell us about arriving in the US. What was that like on your first day when you arrived in the US?
Oh, when I first arrived here, of course, I can't believe, like, am I in the USA? Like when we were driving, like, oh my God, this is USA. It just feels like you're at home also. So, and even like when me and my friend Joy, who is watching right now, hi Joy, we were driving like from work and we were saying like, are we in the USA? Like we can't really believe it. Like, is it really like we're living our dream? It's I stayed here for a while. Like I want to tell all the Leforans that when you come here, you don't like work on your first day. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things that you should wait for, like for your SS number. You have to, open a bank account, build your credit score, and there's a lot of things to learn. And I would suggest that you take some money with you, because most of the agencies don't tell you that you should have a pocket money. But so now I'm saying it to all of you, have a money at hand, because you have to pay for like administrative fee for your apartment. And because you don't have a credit score yet, you have to pay a deposit for your apartment's electricity or gas, and and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important tip, because people don't realize. And not only that, Joe, now at this time of the pandemic, when nurses come in, they have to quarantine initially. So you can't even go straight to the Social Security office. You've got to quarantine for 2 weeks at least before you can even go to Social Security. So it actually can delay the whole process even more.
Oh.
Yeah.
So for me, I waited like 2 months. 2 months I have no job. So you have to have money with you.
Yeah. So that, really important. But I was just smiling, and I could see Jasper and Paul smiling also when you said it felt so surreal, and you were just like pinching yourself, like, is this America? Jasper, is that how you felt as well?
See, it's so long now. I've been here for almost 20 years. I could not remember anymore how the feeling was like, but I do remember that it was not a straight line for me. It was like a lot of uphill battle. Because during that time, the landscape is pretty different. We didn't have any NCLEX in the Philippines. Imagine I had to be transported to my agency. We had to be transported to Guam at that point. So they were trying to save money. So we were not even flying straight to Guam. We had to stop over in Japan, and we arrived in Guam after an 8 hours flight at 6 a.m. and my NCLEX was at 8 a.m. So imagine the jet lag, and I had to take the test. And then at 3 p.m. we had to fly back. So I was in Guam for pretty much like, from the test at 8 a.m. and we had to fly back in the afternoon. And all of that, I mean, it was not an easy thing. So I really would like to, do a reality check for nurses nowadays, that you are so blessed with everything that you have right now. You have your visa availability, you have NCLEX pretty much everywhere, anywhere, especially in the Philippines. Right. So just be thankful and grab that opportunity and look back as it being the glass half full. Always keep a positive mind. And to your question, was it, the feeling ecstatic at that point? I believe it was. I just could not remember it right now because it's been 2 decades ago. But I would think that it was really, fulfilling because of all the things that I went through.
Right.
Well, I think I came to this country 20 years ago as well, so I can identify with what you're saying. But I think the fact that you brought up that reality check is very, very valuable, Jasper, because it is a matter of looking at the glass half full. So many people don't even remember or don't even realize how hard it was in the past, and you are, one of those who came a long time ago and had to pave the way for those that are coming now, which is what you're doing again now in the Lafora Talk Show by helping those that are still outside the country. But I think really important, because gratitude can really change. If you have that lens of gratitude, it can really change the way that you see things. You're not looking for everything that goes wrong. You're more grateful and blessed for what you have in that moment. And I think that leads me to the next question, which is really probably one of the most important questions, is, we talk about how that in the beginning, it's kind of like the honeymoon. It's so exciting. You're pinching yourself, you doing the happy dance. You really are ecstatic of being here and achieving your dream. But a lot of Laforans don't realize that that's also when the roller coaster starts. And hopefully for many people watching, it will not be too bumpy of a ride. But for many people, it is quite bumpy in the first year, I would say. Joe, tell us about your first year. What were the challenges you experienced, and how did you overcome them?
So first challenge that I experienced was, the accent, the language itself. Because I'm in the South, so they have like a lot of accent. It's just not one accent. There's redneck accent, there's like Black American accent, and there's a lot. So what I do is I tell them to speak slowly so I would understand them. And they are very appreciative of that. It doesn't matter. I mean, don't be ashamed of asking them to repeat themselves if you don't understand. Especially if you talk to the doctor on the phone, it's very important that you tell them, doctor, I didn't hear you. Or I did not understand you. Can you repeat that? And then after you receive the order, you have to repeat it to him, because sometimes, there's some miscommunications, like some misunderstanding because of the words used. So that's it. They would also, it's not only you that it's adjusting to them, and they are also adjusting to you. So for us, you also have to speak slowly. And then for me, I would suggest that you watch some YouTube videos about how to speak their language, like the accent, so they would understand you more. Because when I first came here, I think my English sounds like more of a Chinese accent, because they were laughing. We just laugh at it and just learn the language, before I said, the ginger ale, I said ginger ale, and it was so funny, like everybody was laughing. Now I know it's ginger ale.
You'll never forget that one.
Yeah, don't forget that one. And what else? I asked some of my friends, and they say they are problem adjusting with the food, because here it's more of like cheese, steak. You miss the salty Filipino culture that we have. But for me, I don't have like really problem. I love cheese, so I think that's it.
Okay. And Paul, I'm sure you can relate, because you were also in the South, right? About the accent.
Yeah, well, the good thing is, back where I started working, it's 99% Hispanics. So if I have a Filipino accent, they have the Hispanic accent too. So that evens it out. So all of us have accent, and I would laugh at them and they would laugh at me. But it's really what she said was actually right, because sometimes I would still pronounce things the Filipino way, and they would make fun of me, and I laugh at them too, because I didn't even realize, oh, our language is so different. But I would make like sometimes I would try to annoy my coworkers when we're not busy. I would just talk in Filipino English accent, and they would just be laughing hilariously at me. But that's fun.
Yeah.
I got to learn a lot of new pronunciation about words too.
Yeah. Well, having a sense of humor helps.
Yeah.
So laughing helps. And
Yeah.
being assertive, asking the question, not being shy, because I think that is difficult for a lot of Filipinos coming to the US. You're taught not to question. So I think that's important. But people don't realize that, you think, well, you've got to pass the IELTS. And then once you pass the IELTS, you kind of done. You don't have to worry about the English again. But it doesn't really work that way.
I have a funny story about what Joe shared about communication with the doctor on the phone. I remember the doctor was on the other side, like about 2 a.m. So I was saying on the phone, like, yes, doctor, like, yes, doctor, yes, doctor. And then now he was screaming on the other side. It's like, what do you mean, yes, doctor? I'm asking you a question. Yeah,
It happens. It
so,
happens.
and it's kind of like a shift in the paradigm of nursing in the Philippines, where you are always saying yes, doctor, and you pretty much do not question, and you're not used to being asked of what your ideas are, or opinion about things for patient care. But here in the United States, it's pretty much expected as nurses, as professionals, that we have something to say and contribute, and what we think are the recommendations for your patients, because you were there for most of the shift. So the doctors pretty much rely on you. And that's what nursing is about. And that's what I keep telling, whenever I go to the Philippines to speak, I keep, encouraging that kind of a paradigm shift in the practice of nursing, that we had to stop, putting the doctors on top of the, totem pole, because we are all, at the end of the day, professionals. We are on the same level. It's just on a different discipline. So I guess that's my pet peeve.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to add with Sir Jasper, because I was really also surprised in here, because the doctors really ask your opinion about the patient, and
Right.
and they're not offended if you do have a suggestion. Like sometimes they would, some doctors would not really review the laboratories, and you can ask them, doctor, are you sure you want to start this potassium? Because this is his level, and they will not be offended. This is what I really like in the US. You feel like you really are a professional. You
Right.
really have this, not like I work in the Middle East, and if you say something and you suggest something to the doctor, they would be like mad at you. Or even in the Philippines, right? But here it's different. You're on the same level. You are entitled for your opinion, and of course, your opinion should be based. I mean, it should be intelligible. I mean, you should have a base, like you have a laboratory to prove it, and you will love it here. So I was
Yeah.
telling my friends about it. You're gonna love it here because you're treated differently. You feel that you're really a
Respected.
professional,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying now, every Lafora talk show that we've had, everybody's saying the same thing. And I think, Jasper, you're 100% right in that it's a paradigm shift. And it takes a little bit of time to kind of wrap your head around that, and also to get up the courage to speak up, to be assertive, because there's a difference between being aggressive and assertive. Yeah. So I see we have a lot of people watching us today, which is so exciting. We have Ted is tagging his friends. We've got Mark Jefferson is watching. Hi, Mark. Giselle is watching. Marika, Marilu is watching from the Philippines. Joyce is watching from Singapore. Justine, thank you, Justine, is tagging all of her friends. Wina is tagging her friends. Rachel tagging friends, Editha watching from the Philippines, Ren, hi everybody, Louise, hi Louise, so nice to see you here. Elisa, Milanis is watching, Sheila, Jocelyn, I'm Delhar, Um, Daniel, Matma, wow, many people from watching all over the world. If you have a specific question for the guests, for Jasper or Joe, please ask in the chat, and I'd be happy to watch. Happy to ask the question for you. I also we have something very exciting. Jasper has actually sent us a video, which I'm going to be sharing now. This is the first time that we're going to be sharing a video on the Lafora Talk Show. So very exciting. I hope that the technology all works, and then we can talk a little bit about that, because this is a challenge that Jasper also experienced when he came to the US. And I'm going to share that right now, and then we can talk a little bit about that after watching the video. It's about a 5-minute video. So I'm going to share that now, everybody. Where is our...
We have times when standing tall for our patients, our profession, and ourselves is not easy. Times when we're tempted to back down and avoid conflict. But we stand tall because we are professionals, bound together by a code of ethics we uphold even in the toughest of times. We are advocates for our patients, their families, and ourselves. Working with prisoners, my interaction with patient families is usually non-existent. However, on very rare occasions, allowances are made. My patient was critically ill with multiple DVTs throughout his body. As he was helped to the toilet one day, he completely stroked out. Locked-in syndrome ensued. According to prison policy, visitors are not allowed unless death is expected immediately. Although imminent death was not evident in my patient's case, I felt it was important for him to see his family before he was completely gone. So I collaborated with my physicians, colleagues, ethics, spiritual care, and corrections to get an exception granted, and I got it. Although he could not speak, the fullness in his eyes, as he looked into mine, and a slight squeeze of his hand assured me that I had given him all he needed to find his inner peace. That's amazing advocacy, isn't it? It's common for us to advocate for our patients. But every once in a while, we find ourselves compelled to advocate for ourselves with our patients.
The moment I had been dreading happened today. As soon as I entered my patient's room, she stared at me and asked, "Who are you?" I answered, "My name is Jasper and I will be your nurse for tonight." Before I could even finish, she asked, "Where are you from?" I told her that I came from the Philippines. Her look turned to disgust and she said, "Oh, Jesus. I've heard a lot about you people. You come here in troops and you work for almost nothing." I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. I felt the blood rushing to my face with intense humiliation. In my 4 months of bedside nursing in the US, I had not been put into such a difficult situation. My patients were usually very friendly and pleasant. But there I was, face to face, with an 8-year-old, catching me unprepared. I gathered my wits and replied, "You must be upset. You know, I'm just here to take care of you." I knew this could not placate her. "We have a lot of you here already," she said. "Why do you come here? Because you cannot work in your own country?" It was too much of an insult for me to take. At first, I thought of walking out of the room to save myself from more humiliation. But what would that make me? Instead, I found myself approaching my patient. Touching her on the shoulder, I said, "With all due respect, ma'am, what you just said is rather degrading. Do you really want to know why we're here? It's because you don't have enough nurses to take care of the ailing population in this country. That is why they invite us to work as nurses here, to fill your great shortage. Otherwise, there might be nobody to take care of you one day." She was speechless. I straightened myself and helped her to turn over. I did my assessment and then took some washcloths and did pericare. I changed her sore pad and I put new depends on her. I then started giving her a back massage, explaining to her that it would help improve her circulation. She finally spoke. "That feels good," she said. "I wish the other nurse did the same thing for me." I began to wonder if this was the same patient who belittled me just minutes ago. When I walked out of the room, my heart was light. The magic of tenderness, love, and care had transcended hatred and prejudice. This is what I like about nursing. It knows no color, sex, age, social status, nor race. My philosophy in life is that any human being, however unpleasant, yields to the honest, caring hands of another. I believe this is the essence of nursing. To heal not only the ailing physical body, but also to mend bruised feelings and self-esteem. And on that particular night, my self-esteem was healed too.
Can you imagine being in that situation and then handling it so well? Roxanne and Jasper remind us that standing tall requires the ability to influence others around us by compiling relevant information and effectively stating our cases while also inviting and considering the important perspectives of our colleagues. It's not always easy. Do you ever catch yourself holding on to your position only to realize you've forgotten why you thought that way and now you just want to win the argument? Standing tall is not about winning. It's about advocacy. Advocating for our patients, their families, and ourselves.
Wow. What a powerful, powerful moment. Thank you so much, Jasper, for sharing that. I think that is just the most touching, inspiring, I just don't even have the words, video, because I think it really encompasses so many things. Standing tall, as she said, you know, as Joe said, that in America, you know, being that professional in the face of challenges, and I think just goes to the epitome of being a nurse, and taking the high road so that you can care for your patient.
And let me just share a little bit of a backstory how I was able to present in that symposium. It's about, you know, one of the national conventions. It's just like about 5,000 people. But I'd never planned on being there myself. But as a new nurse, you know, you have all these experiences, good or bad. And I'm a person who likes to write. I've been a journalist back in the Philippines. And every time I have something that I experience, I always, you know, find myself, you know, writing about that experience. And at that point, I experienced that particular, you know, situation, unpleasant situation. And when I got home, I was so frustrated. So I started writing about that piece. And you know, I slept. And then next day, I said, well, this is actually a good piece. Probably, you know, I could publish somewhere. So I sent it to a local community paper. And so I got a reply back and said, this story is, you know, is poignant and good, can be published. I said, oh, sure, that's fine. And I didn't think about anything about it. So it got published in a community paper. And then 3 months later, I got a call from, you know, a person from the, you know, NTI. And they said, Jasper, we saw this article that you wrote at the, you know, local paper. Can you, you know, speak at the convention during the keynote speech? And I said, that's fine. And, you know, they took care of all my, you know, accommodations, fare and everything. So I guess the lesson that I would like to also share to the nurses out there is that when you come to the United States, always find ways to, you know, have an outlet. Don't just embrace those feelings on you. You have to either, you know, sing, write, you know, do something about it, dance, whatever. Because if you just keep that on yourself, especially for nurses who are by themselves, and at that time I was by myself, so that was my, you know, outlet to write. And you never know, something could come up, something, you know, good could come out of that. And this is one example to show that out of a simple experience, a simple article that I wrote, that other nurses, you know, appreciate.
Wow, what an incredible story, really. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So inspiring. And I think what you say is so, so true. Those first few months, that first year is such a roller coaster, and you're going to encounter things that you might never have encountered before. So I think having some kind of an outlet, some kind of support system. And that's where really the Lafora Talk Show, that was why it was created. It's because it's about knowledge is power. The more that we can share these stories, the better we can empower everybody who's going to come to the US, who's going to be going through that first year and say, oh, okay, well, when this happens to me, this is normal, not normal, but this is to be expected. And this is how I need to handle it, and maybe to remember how you handled it, Jasper, which is just such a powerful and moving example. Thank you for sharing.
Let me just put a caveat there, Tanya, because I don't want nurses to also think that it's okay, and just accept all these things. They also have, like what you said, be assertive. There are some thresholds, okay? So you have to write things every day on what are those bad experiences that you have in the workplace. And if it comes to the point that it borders upon, bullying or harassment, that they need to put it in a different perspective. It's beyond just writing an article or doing, something about it. You have to now escalate it. Because if you do not, then people around you will say, oh, well, it's probably okay that I keep doing this to him or her because she's not, speaking up. So I just would like to also caveat the experience to say that they have to also know the difference between being, resilient versus being assertive.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a fine line between those two. Yeah.
Correct.
Absolutely. Joe, what are your thoughts on the video that we watched and Jasper's experience?
I'm speechless. I mean, what I thought about, is the song of Selena Gomez, "Kill Them with Kindness." Remember that song? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that always works, because sometimes when you enter the patient's room, you would instantly know, like, this patient doesn't like me. But for me, I would really feel that. But sometimes what I would do is I would talk to them, develop some rapport, and it always works. They always, and I always like joke with them and make fun, make the conversation fun, and then you will get their trust. That's what I do. But this is like a kind of like racism, right? Like, we minorities always experience that, like in a different way. Like, a patient would ask you to get them a water, then you run to get the water, and you come back, and, oh, can you get me this? And you have to come back, and you come back again. But then you have to be assertive. You have to tell them, okay, ma'am, the nurse's station is like far from your room. Can you think of the things that you want me to get because I have like 5 patients? You can tell them that. I mean, they would understand that. And then that's it. I have never experienced what Sir Jasper had experienced. And if I would be on that situation, I really don't know what to do. Maybe I would just walk out and ask my charge nurse to, I don't know. But I was like, what you did was like inspiring. And maybe if I would be on that situation, I would do what you just did.
Yeah. And as I said, that's the power of the Lafora Talk Show, because if somebody comes to the US and finds themselves in a similar situation, hopefully not, but if they do, hopefully they'll remember Jasper's video, and that will be a very helpful, important thought that would pop into their mind at that time. Paul, any thoughts on the video and what we saw?
Well, it's a really good one, Sir Jasper. That's very inspiring. And you're right. A lot of people would ask us why we're here in the States, why are we not back in the Philippines. I guess today, the new generation of nurses, because I work mostly with younger nurses in the ER, just because the turnover rate in the ER is fast. So a lot of them, I work with nurses that have only less than 2 years experience. I think now they're more understanding of why we're here. In fact, the first time I got here, their question is, oh, we've heard that it's terrible in the Philippines and you don't get paid much. I was like, yeah, we only get paid less than $200 a month, and they couldn't believe it. But uh, for the most part, I would always get good compliments just because I'm a Filipino. They say, "Oh, you know what? We know that Filipinos are hard workers. They take care of their patients. They advocate for their patients, and they're not scared of doctors." Something like that, which for me is a compliment, but it's also a big shoe to fill. I don't want to let my Filipinos down just because I'm not doing a good job. But for the most part, I've seen Filipinos work, and I've worked with Filipinos that have been on the bedside for who knows how many years, 30, 40 years, and they would really be there for their patients. So that's what I want to remind all of us when you get here. I know we're earning money, and it's really inspiring to see your paycheck as well coming from the Philippines. But don't be fooled by money. It's more than money. It's our commitment to our patients. It's our commitment to the healthcare industry. We're here for the quality of care. That's why they like Filipinos more than any other race, I guess, because they know that we're here to work, and we're committed to our jobs. And for the most part, for from the different people that I worked with, it's always Filipinos that have very few call-ins, very few sick calls, because Filipinos will work as much as we can, right? I mean, overtime is good pay too, but we're very committed with our job. So keep that in mind when we go here. It's not about money. It's about how we treat our patients. And Josephine is right as well that if we build a good rapport with our patients, that decreases every risk for litigations, for complaints, for liabilities. Because when they like you, there's less risk for them to complain about you. So just do your job well, and just think about patients. They may be like that because they have bad experiences with their nurses before, or they're sick. So when you're sick, you're irritable. So just try to understand from their side. And if they're really a bully or harassing you because of your race, then maybe step up and tell your manager, hey, you know what? I think I need a different patient, because we don't want bullying as well.
Yeah, as Jasper said, there's a fine line between walking tall and taking care of your patient and taking the high road and having that empathy and care, but also being assertive. And there's Eva, our mascot. Welcome, Eva. I think there is that fine line that Jasper spoke about, which I think is really important to bear in mind. But
to also add to that, I think in general, I don't want people to think that Filipinos are just try to uplift their themselves, but I think that at the end of the day, it's about the individual quality of a nurse trying to really care for patients. All right, so it's not about just because he's from Nigeria, from Philippines, or what have you. It's all about at the end of the day how you really took care of patients, right? And like what Paul said, it's you doing a good job, and not about the money, but it's because you're a nurse, and that's the essence of it, right?
Yeah. I have one nurse, his name was Christian, and he said to me, it's about human to human.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of like sums it up. It's about one human being to another human being.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We are out of time. Oh my goodness. I'm so sad because there's so much more to discuss and so much more to talk about. Last question for the guests and for Paul. If you were to look back on the time that from when you arrived in the US to today, we've spoken a lot of pointers and tips, a lot of advice, but what do you wish you knew? What do you, if you were talking to yourself, Jasper 20 years ago, or Joe the few years ago that you came in, Paul, what would you wish somebody had told you? What were what do you wish you knew when you arrived in the US? Joe, you want to go ahead first?
Well, I think I wish I knew that I should have when they were like in 2000, I think there were nurses like my friends or my classmates was here first. I should have, applied that time because I really love here. I really love how the professionalism, how nurses are being treated, how you are able to practice your being a nurse. I think that's it.
You would have done it earlier.
I have not, yeah, I should have done it earlier. I should have not.
Yeah. And I think, John, glad that you said that, because I think there are a lot of nurses these days, especially with the pandemic, that are thinking, is it like worth it to come to America? Maybe I should go somewhere else. Is the American dream still alive? And what you're saying is, yes, the American dream is still very much alive.
I know that like a lot of Filipino nurses are afraid to come here. We have like thousands and thousands of cases of COVID. But you know what? I have cared for a lot of COVID patients. I for months now, but I have never contracted COVID. Why? Because I wear proper PPE. If you do that, you don't need you don't need to, you wear the cover yourself like a mascot. I mean, just have a shield, a KN95 or N95, and like a disposable gown, and you're good. Wash your hands frequently, and you're safe. So don't be afraid. It's not like a war in here. I mean, it's still good. I mean, the practice is still good, and I encourage you to come here. Don't be scared.
Okay, you heard it from Joe. Jasper.
Well, it's so I feel bad for Joe. She was put on the spot with that question. That's kind of difficult. But I'm still right now after that pause. I'm still thinking of what to say. But I guess I'm probably, if I can talk to myself 20 years ago, I would say just be patient, because there's always, as what the old dogma says, always a place and a situation under the heavens. It may not be on your time, it's probably in his time. So just be patient. There will come a time that I would question myself, like, I did everything that I had to do. Seems like things are just not falling into place. And why is that? And then come today, I realized, like, wow, if it happened that time that I was, hoping it would, then I probably would not get these things, which is way much better. So I always believe that God has plans for each of us. And sometimes you just have to say to yourself, there's a better plan for you. All right. So don't be impatient. There are things that are better. And what is being asked for each of us is to, at that time, always develop yourself, develop your talents, develop your skills, and things will just come up and open up and fall into proper orbits. You don't have to be impatient. You don't have, to, cry or lament or pity yourself. Every opportunity counts. Every time counts. So you volunteer, you help your siblings, you help your parents, and everything. And at the end of of that phase of not having things that you wanted, you will realize, wow, this didn't happen because this is what God wanted me to have. Yeah. I'm not patronizing. I'm just saying, reflecting on my own experience, Tanya.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard a great saying once. It was, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So sometimes in the moment, you can't know why something is happening, why you're experiencing that challenge. But probably at the end, you're going to look back and say, okay, I can see why that happened, and that it was actually the best, even though I didn't think so in the very beginning. So I think those are wise words, Jasper.
Yeah.
Paul, last words?
Well, to answer the question, like what would I have wished I'd known before I came over here? First, with work related, ED is very skill oriented. I know my ED skills, but there's so much equipment and machines that were so foreign to me that I was like, hey, you know what? Teach me how to use this one because I don't even know what a rapid infuser is. You know, like how to set up a level 1 infuser for traumas and so many things. So I wish I had known those skills before I got over here. But I mean, patient wise, I came over here to win, you know? So on my day one, I already have built good rapport with my patients and they're like, oh, here goes the Filipino nurse, you know? But outside work, life-wise, there's so many things. I wish I had known how to file taxes. I wish I had known the lingos with health insurance. There's so many things that's so crazy. I went to the hospital the first time, not hospital, a clinic, and I was billed $236. And I was like, oh my God, this is like 11,000 pesos. And I almost had a heart attack because I was still converting dollars to pesos, you know? So don't ever do that because it will just freak you out every time. Like when you buy something from Walmart for $3 and you're like, what? This is 150 pesos. This is only 10 pesos in the Philippines. So something like that. And I wish I know how to gas up my car because I really didn't. I had to call a friend because I don't know how to operate the gas tank. So many things. It's funny, but you're going to learn it here. Always bring a friend with you on the first few days because it's really going to freak you out. When you go to the groceries, you have to use a card to pay. I mean, you can still use cash, but it will make you look weird bringing cash. You know what I mean? So so many funny things that I experienced, like traffic wise here in Texas, you know, but I mean, it's all over the states. Like you can turn to the right anytime, even if it's red, as long as it's clear.
Mhm.
With me, I had to wait till it's green and cars are buzzing behind me. So many things. I wish I had read the DMV handbook, which I didn't. I just took the test, you know, and like right of way, something like that. So many funny things that it took me really a while to get the American way for things because it's so different. And I wish I had more information with that. But Lefora is there now, and we've shared a lot of experiences already, including this talk show. So they're going to learn from that.
Yeah, and we also have some plans for more information to be shared on those things. And as
Yes.
you're talking, I'm just laughing because the first time I put in gas, I didn't know how to do it, and I was so nervous. And what happened is I landed up with gas all over me. If somebody was near me with a match, I would not be here today to tell the story. It was just terrible. But looking back, funny. But at the moment,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, we live and learn. But sorry, John.
No, I had like the you know, putting gas on your car. I had that
Yeah.
that experience too. I don't even know how to open the
Yeah,
the gas,
you
and I have to ask somebody like
have to put your card first, something like
yeah, because we're used to doing it for us, somebody doing it
yeah.
for us. Like
Mhm.
when I went to Qatar or in the Philippines, there is a gasoline boy, and then when I came here and I rented a car, I don't know I don't know how to get.
I know how to open the tank, but I don't know how.
I don't know how to
Oh,
do
okay.
it. I don't know how to open it. So
I
Yeah.
think there's only two states, and where I'm now in New Jersey, it's
New Jersey.
actually
Yeah.
illegal for you to put your gas
Yeah.
by yourself. So
oh,
somebody will have
They're
to
spoiled.
put that. Yeah, we're spoiled in New Jersey.
Because
It's
everywhere else
a
you have to
law.
gas up your car, your own. You have to
Yeah,
bring your gloves because otherwise your hands are gonna smell like gas.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the interesting thing. Like Jasper's telling us that about New Jersey. I never knew that. And that just, it just shows you how big this country is and how, you talk about America, but every state is so different. It's almost like a country in itself.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we've gone way over time, but we had such a fun, informative discussion. Thank you so much to Joe. Thank you so much to Jasper. Thank you to
Thank
the
you.
Lefora admin team for giving us this opportunity. It was a lot of fun. I think everybody hopefully learned a lot, and we look forward to the next Lefora talk show. We do it every Tuesday at the same time, once a month, so the first Tuesday of every month. So we look forward to seeing you again next time. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.